Welcome back. I don't know if you know this, but it's hot outside. We're actually in the middle of a heat wave. We've been talking about it. Now, while you are doing all, of course, you can to keep ourselves comfortable, cool, it's important not to forget about those furry folks in your family. This afternoon, we have with us Dr. Brooke West from the West Toledo Animal Hospital. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So when we think pets are just like, no, they're fine. They've got, because they don't need shoes or clothes. That's just ornamental. Sometimes that's not actually accurate. We need to be mindful of outdoors and our dogs, right?
Correct. They're wearing fur coats, just which we don't really have. So they don't also have the ability to really sweat only through their tongue and their feet.
That's true.
So they don't have that extra ability to get rid of heat like we do. So they absorb a lot of it, and then they can become very sick from it, including shutting down their organs all the way to death. So it's very crucial that we watch how hot they're getting outside, how long they're spending outside, and during the times of day that we're allowing them to go out. And then also providing them with a lot of area to decompress, to get out of the heat. Shaded areas, lots of water, bath, sprinkling them with the hose, keeping them wet if they are having to be outside or be in an environment where they can't, get to anything.
What are good signs and symptoms, I suppose, because sometimes maybe it's just I'm not picking up on the hints, maybe warning signs that maybe I might not notice or definitely look out for?
Heavily panting is usually the first sign. They're going to be panting and they can't really control it. They don't slow down, they can't stop, which then, causes them to get dizzy. They can get dizzy, they can have troubles getting around, they can collapse, they can be just panting and pacing because they can't get comfortable. And so those would be big signs to be watching for, especially if it's extremely hot out.
When do because I think about it in terms of just like whenever the baby gets sick, I'm just, nope, take her to the hospital immediately.
Right.
When do what's the proper time to take my dog to the hospital versus just keeping them inside type deal?
Sure. If you can't get them to cool off inside after you've attempted, getting them wet, cooling them down, I'll even have owners spray alcohol on their paw pads to try to help alleviate some of the heat out of their systems. If you cannot do that within about 10 to 15 minutes of being inside where they're not relaxing or calming down, I would highly recommend getting them to an emergency service or your veterinary if they're open.
Okay. And then in terms of what are helpful tips and tricks and things like that, I can say that my hound dog does not listen well, but he at least knows his body in terms of it's too hot out. But let's say that, God love him, you're like Forrest Gump, you're real special. What if he just won't come inside? I can't get him to come inside to rest. What are ways to trick them into calming down? Yeah.
So I would probably just get them into a shaded area at the very least. I would hose them off with a hose if possible. Just to try to bring down the body temperature a little bit and for them not to absorb so much heat, and keeping them out of that area. Provide them with some cold water and a place to go if they refuse to come in, so that they're not exposed to the direct heat or running around in it, for sure.
I've got a couple family members, and I can think maybe folks out here, it's just a dog.
Right.
What is the big deal? Why are we panicking so much? Why is this not just a dog type deal?
Correct. So they're not just a dog. I mean, they're part of our family in a lot of cases, and they become our babies, and they're part of our environment. So we have to also be respectful of their needs, and that what they need and what they have to what we need to do for them. So I think watching them, being mindful of them and looking into their normal routines and the normal way of life, it's just important to make sure that they're not, getting into any dangerous signs, especially with this heat. Okay,
so then just to kind of recap, if you're just now joining us, hi, where you been? We're talking about safety for dogs. What are the tips, things we must do? I feel like I don't need to spend thousands of dollars to just keep my dog cool. No, it's just smart tips, right?
Smart tips. Walking in the morning and at night when it's dawn or dusk, so that we're not exposing them to the hot heat, and watching the asphalt. If your hand can't touch the asphalt for longer than 5 seconds, your dog shouldn't be walking on it. Keeping them shaded areas in the backyard, lots of fresh water available, little doggy pools if they have them, or those little plastic pools, just to keep them cool if they'll go in them. And then just being mindful of the amount of time they're spending outside, how hot it is, and keeping them in. And then definitely not taking them in the car rides right now. It's too dangerous unless they can get out with you at every location. It's just way too dangerous, even with the windows open.
I was just about to say, but what if the windows are down and what? It's just not a good idea right now.
Not a good idea right now. Nope,
Okay.
I wouldn't suggest it. It's just too hot, and they really don't have any access to getting free, moving wind or any way of really cooling down.
Well, doctor, if we wanted to reach out to you, like, hey, I have some questions, comments, how do we reach you? Where do we go?
Oh, you can go to West Toledo Animal Hospital, and that's at 419-475-1527, or Perrysburg Animal Hospital at 419-874-8974.
Dr. Brooke West, ladies and gentlemen, she says things to keep your doggo safe because, again, they're more than just pets, they're family.
Correct.
Thank you so much for being with us.